Good morning, everyone. In today's class, we will study two most important hormones that regulate our blood sugars. They are insulin and glucagon. These two hormones. Okay, so let's begin. Balancing blood sugar, the tug of war between insulin and glucagon. We need to know what are hormones, role of pancreas in endocrine function, and importance of blood glucose regulation. So what are hormones? Hormones are chemical messengers and secreted by endocrine glands directly into the bloodstream. So hormones are chemical messengers. It's an endocrine gland and it houses these hormones. They directly release into the bloodstream. This is the bloodstream, and then through the bloodstream they travels to its target organ, and this target organ is also there is receptors, okay, at the surface of target organ, and this hormone can bind with it and make the physiological changes of the target organs. Each hormone has a specific target function, helping to maintain the body's internal balance known as homeostasis. Okay, insulin and glucagon are two vital hormones that are secreted by the pancreas and work together to maintain normal blood sugar levels in the body. So here is the insulin and glucagon. These two hormones secreted from the organ that is pancreas, and we all know that pancreas is known as mixed gland because it secretes hormone as well as enzymes. So pancreas is a mixed gland. Within pancreas, there are specific type of cells that are the acinar cells. These acinar cells houses different kind of digestive enzymes that are useful for the digestion of proteins. Okay, specifically protein. And next, the pancreatic islets that are known as islets of Langerhans, where they houses cluster of cells. There is so many types of cells present here, like these green cells are the beta cells that secrete insulin. These blue cells are the alpha cells that secretes glucagon. These pink cell are delta cell that secrete somatostatin. We read somatostatin in the next previous class, growth hormone and somatostatin. The somatostatin is also secreted by pancreatic islets, okay, delta cells of the pancreatic islets, and the pp, that is the pancreatic polypeptide. It also secretes ghrelin that are also effective for growth hormone regulators. Okay, so these type of cells are responsible for secretion of these two hormones, insulin and glucagon, secreted by pancreas, and they are having the opposing roles in glucose homeostasis. That is, insulin is secreted from beta cells and glucagon is secreted from alpha cells. Within our body, two situation can occurs. Okay, first is high blood sugar level and second is low blood sugar level. So how our body respond to that specific type of situation? Firstly, when our blood sugar level is high, so what happens at that time? It directly sends signals to our pancreas, and our pancreas secrete one hormone, that is the insulin hormone. Okay, so pancreas secrete insulin hormone when our blood sugar level is high. And what does insulin do? Insulin directly moves to the liver, and what happens within liver, it convert glucose to its storage form, that is glycogen. So there is a conversion of glucose to its storage form, glycogen. Why? Because glucose is already high within the blood. There is no utilization of glucose, no requirements of glucose. You are not doing anything so that you require glucose expenditure. So this glucose are extra glucose. That's why it should not be within the blood. That's why they transfer into its storage form, that is glycogen. Okay, so who helps in this conversion? That is insulin hormone. It converts glucose to glycogen when our blood sugar level is high. Accordingly, our blood sugar, what results? It lowers our blood sugar level. So insulin is responsible for lowering our blood sugar level when it is in high within our blood. Okay, the next situation is the low blood sugar. When within our blood sugar level is very low, we don't have glucose for performing any kind of activity, muscular activity. We know that any kind of activity needs energy production, and energy we directly can get energy from glucose. So there is very low blood sugar level that promotes release of glucagon from the pancreas. So pancreas release glucagon when our blood sugar level is low. What glucagon can do? Glucagon stimulate breakdown of glycogen, because there is no glucose within the blood. So we can get that glucose from its storehouse, so that glycogen converts into glucose. Okay, when there is need of glucose within the blood. So when blood sugar level is low, we need the transformation from glycogen to glucose. It's very important to understand these conversions. So when our blood sugar level is low, our hormone that is secreted from pancreas is glucagon. Okay, and this glucagon convert glycogen to glucose, and glycogen means the chain of glucose molecules. Okay, so this is the chain of glucose molecule, and I have to split this chain so that we can get a free glucose, right? So its splitting occurs by some enzymes, but this process is known as glycogenolysis. Glycogenolysis. Why? Because there is the splitting of glycogen. Glycogenolysis. Lysis means splitting, breakdown of anything is called as lysis. So here occurs breakdown of glycogen, so glycogenolysis. And there is formation of glucose. This glucose is formed from a carbohydrate source, but glucose can also be formed from non-carbohydrate source. If glucose form from the non-carbohydrate source, that glucose is named as gluconeogenesis. Okay. Anyways, so when our blood sugar level is high, blood sugar level is high, which hormone is responsible? Insulin. Insulin secreted from pancreas. Okay, and this insulin promotes glycolysis. Glycolysis means glucose degeneration. That means the breakdown of glucose. Actually, it's convert glucose into glycogen, its storage form. So glucose that promotes, insulin promotes glycolysis. Okay, and glycogen is getting formed. Anything formation is named as genesis. So here occurs glycogenesis. So you can remember one thing, that for glycogen, what happens for glycogen? When blood sugar level is low, glycogen breakdown occurs, that is why glycogenolysis. And when blood sugar level is high, glycogen formation occurs, that is glycogenesis. Okay. So the function of insulin: it lowers blood glucose levels, it promotes glucose uptake by cells. So here is the term glycogenesis. Tell me what happens here for glycogenesis. Glycogen, generation of glycogen, that is why glycogenesis. So conversion of glucose to glycogen, in where it occurs within liver and muscle. Okay. And there is also occurs lipogenesis, that means the fat storage. We already seen within these growth hormone chapter that insulin functions at the generation of fat, lipogenesis, and inhibits gluconeogenesis. Gluconeogenesis means glucose formation. Gluconeogenesis means generation of glucose from non-carbohydrate source, and also glycogenolysis, because glycogen is formed here, that is why glycogenesis occurs, but glycogenolysis get inhibited by insulin. Okay. Next, functions of glucagon: it raises blood glucose levels as it secretes when our blood sugar levels get low. So it promotes the opposite effect of insulin. That's why glycogenolysis occurs here. So the breakdown of glycogen to glucose, glycogenolysis. Okay. And there occurs also gluconeogenesis, that means generation of glucose from non-carbohydrate source. Genesis means synthesis, and from gluconeogenesis, glucose preparation. Okay. And lipolysis, fat breakdown that can cause by glucagon. So we also need to know when these hormones are secreted. This insulin secretes after meals. That means high glucose can monitor after meals. Okay. That's why for testing glucose, we take blood for 2 times. One is the fasting condition at the very early morning, and after the meal for insulin checkup. Okay. So glucagon during fasting or hypoglycemia, low glucose level. During fasting we monitor, during fasting early morning we monitor glucose level, and for postprandial, that means after meal, we check the insulin levels. Okay, so you get the answer of why we need to take blood 2 times for blood sugar testing. Okay. So here is the mechanism of action that is very important, and this is very important for the high standards also. That's why I incorporated this slide here, and but I will tell very little about this slide. So insulin, everything for every hormone, it works through a proper receptors. So insulin also work through our receptors, that are insulin receptors. Insulin receptors mainly tyrosine kinase receptors, tyrosine kinase receptor that are present. And these receptors, there occurs some signaling pathways. Okay. And GLUT4 is the transporter who uptake this glucose within the target cell. So there occurs this pathway. And glucagon, similarly, it also has its receptor, that is G protein coupled receptor. So any type of competitive exams like CSR, NET and GATE aspirants, if you are checking this video, so this slide is very helpful for you also, that which receptor is responsible for the mechanism of action of insulin. These question very frequently asked question, and this is the tyrosine kinase receptor, and for glucagon it is G protein coupled receptor. For G protein coupled receptor, they also activate second messengers like cyclic AMP and the protein kinase A PKA, and glucose release into the target cell, that is the liver cell. So this is the action of insulin and glucagon. Okay. Disorders and imbalance. Insulin deficiency can cause diabetes mellitus. Okay, this is a very common disease, and diabetes mellitus needs a separate class to discuss, because there is type 1 and type 2 diabetes mellitus, but it caused by the insulin deficiency. Okay, and excess glucagon can cause hyperglycemia, that is the high blood sugar levels. Okay, so what happens when insulin fails to act? Very important question. Blood glucose levels remain high, that means it causes hyperglycemia. Glucose cannot enter cells. Cells are starved for energy. Leads to diabetes mellitus, where symptoms include frequent urination, thirst and fatigue for diabetes mellitus, and long-term effects. It causes the nerve damage, kidney failure and vision problems. Okay, and what does glucagon help during starvation or fasting? Because it has an advantageous role. So glucagon signals to the liver, break down glycogen. Here occurs glycogenolysis. It's create new glucose. So gluconeogenesis from amino acid fats. Again, gluconeogenesis is the generation of glucose from the non-carbohydrate source, and it maintains blood glucose levels to supply energy to the brain and body. So these are the importance of these two hormones that are very important for our regular day-to-day life, and insulin and glucagon play their role to maintain the homeostasis of our body. Okay, so stay connected for getting such important videos.